Hi, and welcome to the Sandcastle here at Cal State Long Beach, where you don't have to get sand in your toes to hang out at the beach. I'm Danny.
I'm Wyatt.
And I'm Manning.
And today we're going to talk about adornments, what they are, how and why we choose them, as well as the vital role they play in shaping our lives.
In our textbook, Nonverbal Communication, authors Judy K. Burgoon, Valerie Manusov, and Laura K. Guerrero discuss the body as a code. The body can be looked at as a vehicle for conveying messages through physical appearance, and adornments are a large part of this body code. They include things such as clothing, body mods, cosmetics like hairstyles and makeup, and perfume. We use adornments for a wide variety of reasons. We use them to remind ourselves of another time in our life, to identify with a group or subculture, to display status, to appear more attractive, to increase salience of a group, to diverge from the mainstream, or to express identity. Almost all of these cases can be seen through our pop culture over just the last few decades. If we look at things like magazines, TV shows, movies, fashion shows, Comic Cons, etc., we can notice how their adornments reflect their culture and time period. For example, if we look at media reflective of different subcultures, like MTV's Pimp My Ride, an early 2000s show about modifying cars in crazy fashions, we can see how the actors' different outfits, chains, graphic tees, beanies, and hairstyles of the time, like the mohawk, reflect not only the time period, but also the region they're from and their expressed identities. What comes to mind when you guys think of other TV shows, the 2000s fashion, the 90s, etc.? What about you, Wyatt?
You know, like my first initial thought is the full shutter sunglasses, dude. Do you
Yeah,
remember
oh my
them?
god, yeah.
Like the different color, just
Yeah.
blocking out the haters.
Party Rock,
man. Party Rock,
LMFAO,
yeah.
Kanye West. Oh my
Totally,
god.
what a staple. Like, I can't tell you the last time I saw those, but like, man, that was like a serious thing that was going on
Yeah.
for a little bit
So
there,
specific, so
Yeah,
iconic. Yeah.
100%.
Oh my god.
Now, for me, the '90s, I was in transitioning to high school, so I remember Jinko jeans and like big hair.
Yeah,
I mean that
Totally.
was just like a sign of the times.
dude, yeah.
Mom bought me a pair, didn't know what they were, and I was like, everybody else knew what they were.
Yeah, you were all of a sudden
That's
the
so funny, yeah.
major swag on
Yeah.
campus, huh?
Yeah, everybody, so you got Jinkos, or what is that?
It's like, let me pull my math textbook out this pocket real
It's
quick.
funny how it's that one to you is so familiar, but to me it's just so foreign. And it's just so crazy how like just in the difference of one decade, like
Yeah.
something can just be like back pocket to you, and to me it's just so alien.
Yeah, I mean, and it's full circle now. Now, back then,
It's coming
I
back,
was,
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
now, for me, like now I'm into the rave scene. I wasn't then, and that's what it's tied to. So like, it's just
That's
wow,
funny
we're
because
going
for
back.
me, I rock climb, and that's what I think of. I do not think of
Yeah.
Nintendo. Really, that's so backwards to me. So speaking of fashion, Wyatt, so how do you think adornments play a role in one's own perception of themselves and how they're perceived by others?
Yeah, it's major actually. According to our textbook, the word cosmetics comes from the Greek word cosmos, which actually means adornment. Studies have shown that women are judged as more attractive when they're wearing an appropriate amount of makeup, and especially when their makeup is applied professionally. As a culture, we associate smooth, clear skin as usually a sign of good health and contributes to facial attractiveness. And with that being said, I think that's why women use cosmetics to smooth their skin and to give that fair texture. They're generally rated as more physically attractive and perceived as healthy when they are wearing those things. And it's interesting to think about because cosmetics can actually be traced back to ancient Egypt, an estimated 7,000 years ago. According to an article by Syed Rafid Kabir on historycooperative.org, although many researchers have found makeup and cosmetics throughout multiple different cultures spanning thousands of years and multiple continents, looking at how widespread cosmetics are, we can see how adornments such as makeup aren't specific to one society, but rather just a reflection of a culture's values and beliefs in the basic human condition. How do you feel about the change in facial appearance or like the application of makeup as an adornment, changing the way that others perceive you and just in general the way that you perceive yourself, Danny?
I mean, like, I look at it, I like to relate things, as simple as I can. Like, so I always tie that to the animal kingdom and birds of paradise and, the way that we use our outer expressions as a way of courtship, or attraction, or to repel people who we don't really want to be around us. There's been plenty of times, I'm sure, when women have seen somebody that just didn't have the right demeanor, body language, or anything, and that was just the cue, red flag, out of here.
Ward them off.
Or the right clothing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it lets you know your status. What you do, what you support,
your affiliations.
Yeah, exactly.
If he wasn't wearing Jinkos, he's not getting out there, huh?
It's kind of cool to think how it's just so timeless and it's not specific to one region. Like you said, human condition, it's so accurate. Like they can be completely unrelated cultures, unrelated continents, like thousands of years apart, and yet still cosmetics are still a thing. And how it's so cool how they can be so specific to one society depending on what it is. Like, makeup can mean something totally different from culture to culture.
Like tattoos, and I mean that brings up like the second case study that I was looking up, which was a 2001 publication by Beauregard, and basically it focused a study on the reasons why college-age women went to get body piercings. I think a lot of people kind of assume that women were doing it, or would assume that women were doing it to get attention, when in reality, the study went and showed that they were doing it for self-expression and identity. It was about self, not about attracting anything, and then researching further into it, like actually showed that because of the way that these women were treated as a group and how they were kind of ostracized, and basically just talked down to because they did something that was against the norm, I guess, in those cultures. Those women, those circles of women grew closer, so it had this effect of bringing them closer together, as some of these adornments do. You wear a jersey for a football team, you're gonna run into somebody with that jersey and you're gonna high five them. There's that instant connection that we have through these adornments that we have, and that's part of the reason why I think we wear them. But what about you, Wyatt?
Yeah, I think especially in terms of like more permanent adornments, you brought up tattoos. Like I actually have a tattoo on my thigh. When I was in the military, I used to go, we have call signs, and it's just basically a nickname. Like instead of calling me Foreman or Wyatt, you just call me whatever the nickname is fit by the community, if you will. But mine was shark bait, and because of that call sign and like the attachment and the affiliation that I had with shark bait or whatever, I tattooed a fishbone on my leg with like the font shark bait right around it. And it's interesting like how much power like you can give something like that, and like and hold on and really just kind of envelop and like cherish that like moment and encapsulate that period of time for what it was, and like really reflect back every time you see it. It'll remind you or like trigger that like, oh, this is where I came from, I got here because of there or whatever.
It's kind of like a North Star.
Yeah.
Keeps you grounded.
Keeps you grounded. True north. Yeah, totally. You have any that come to mind, Manny? Like,
I actually do, yeah. So I brought in you guys a perfume, beeswax. Yeah, there you go.
Dude, I smelled that.
Yeah, I just smell this like all
the
day.
lid, huh?
It smells super good.
Dude.
It was interesting when I was looking into like olfactics or like smells. There's a physiological reason behind it and why smell is just so powerful. So, according to a Harvard Medical Journal by Molly McDonough, she states sight, sounds, and other sensory information must first travel through the brain's thalamus before reaching the amygdala and the hippocampus, whereas in contrast, the olfactory system is positioned right next to them. So this explains why, when compared with memories from other senses, odor-evoked memories tend to be more emotional and more likely to extend back earlier in one's life. So basically your sense of smell is just the closest to the processing center of your brain. So it's like the most primal sense. So you smell something and you're there, right? Other senses you have to think. It's harder to get a clear picture, but you smell something from your childhood and you're there. And
totally.
To me, like the wax, it smells like coconut to you guys, so it kind of has like a dual meaning. I mean, it just smells good, and I like being thought of as like beach guy, coconut. Love the smell, but it also reminds me of like my childhood. My family would always go up every summer to Bodega Bay campgrounds, Not only would we go camping, we'd go to like some of the shops, and there was always this surf shop. I just remember it so vividly, right on the one, and it was just, they had the coolest stuff, and it was just such a fun thing to do with my family, and it just, every day I bring in, put it on, and like, it's just like a little happy way to start my day, and it's just so strongly associated. I can never associate coconut with another memory.
Right.
That's
like,
where it is. Yeah.
And it's so nice to like do that every day, you know, like start on vacation, start with like that family, like that, like you said, the North Star, that grounding, like make you really start off on the right foot.
Even if I have like a tough day ahead, just a little
so cool.
reminder, give me a little smile.
Yeah.
What about you, Dan? You got anything?
I'm full of adornments.
We adore you for it.
I mean, like from my tattoo to like my hair, like I used to, like I said, I was into rock, so like I had a mohawk at one point. Like I had my mom help me, and I would like Liberty spike, and then like I had a checkerboard like with 3-inch spikes on my head, you know, like, and it was all about identity and expression, you know. It was just something that happened naturally, and it actually got me into thinking, you know, while we were talking about all this, was like how we give power to things, and that, you know, that tied me to one of the articles that I had read about like EDM music and raves, and how people wear candy bracelets, and I thought about how these are adornments, and how we give these power. We choose to receive, you know, these with a specific amount of energy or power, or whatever we, you know, however we want to see it. You know, and then right now what you were saying, you know, about the olfactics and just that memory tied to a scent, like we don't choose that, you know, and that is like so primal. I think it goes back to, you know, when we were running into caves, you know, and we have to worry about fire and things like that, and I think that's just such an amazing thing to tie it back down to, is that it all really comes down to our expression and how we interact with the people around us. You know, it is a form of communication. I think people really don't. I know I didn't give it as much consideration as I did, but like it really does have a huge amount of impact on us. You know, like you said, you smell it and it takes you back instantly.
Yeah. For sure, like locks you in.
See somebody with like a tattoo of something you like, then you know you're gonna go up and say hi, much more likely than some random person.
Like associate with it, right?
Exactly.
Or if you decide that you don't want to associate with it,
like certain fraternities.
Totally, 100%, man.
All right, Dan, you want to wrap us up?
Yeah, I mean, so to recap, we were just talking about what adornments are. Adornments can be anything from clothing to makeup, hairstyles, tattoos, piercings, jewelry, glasses, watches, hats, bags, you know, pretty much anything that we decide to give power, you know, or to give some kind of invitation or expression of ourselves. And why do we use them? Because they're more than just essential. They express things about the wearer, about our personality, about our status, about our culture, our political beliefs, about our line of work, about the businesses that we patron. And then we also talked about how these impact our lives and the interactions with other people. We can have them impact us because first impressions are made first through nonverbal communication. You know, we see with our eyes before we hear anything, and we're able to communicate things with our appearance before we're able to do it with any other part of, you know, our expression. So as a status symbol, they can represent our place in caste systems, and as nonverbal communication, they can communicate manipulative perceptions that we might not be aware of. You know, somebody who does not have a position of power might be able to command status or respect, you know, with the way that they are dressed, or with the way that their body language moves, or the way that they communicate. So while we might not be using our voices, the adornments that we choose communicate more information than we might ever think they do. So thank you, and it's good to see you here at the beach.